What's good, mamas? It's me, Di, and welcome to Diverse Mama Podcast. If you are new, welcome to you too. Glad you've joined us. Today we have Patricia as our guest. She is a doula located in Maryland. Hey, Patricia.
Hey, how is it going?
It's going good. How was your day today?
It was very good, nice and uneventful and calm.
Right, right. So, when did you first become a mom, and how many cuties do you have?
Um, so I had my first child in 2012. I have two girls. They're both elementary school. One of them actually, their birthday is on Friday. And I have two girls, and yeah, they're a year apart.
Oh my
So
gosh, a year. So they call them what, Irish twins?
yeah, I get that a lot. I actually didn't know that Irish twins were a thing until I had my girls so close together.
Look, I was trying to have me some Irish twins, and my husband was like, no,
That is not, that is, I don't recommend, that is like 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. Do not.
Yeah, I have my kids back to back about 2 years, and I'm kind of like, damn, why did I even do that? But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so
Imagine having like one child like on your arm in a car seat, and the other child is like walking, trying not to fall down because they're just learning how to walk and stuff. It's a mess.
yeah. Well, power to you. See, So how was your birthing experiences with your two girls? Was it pretty smooth?
So the thing about my birthing experience is that, and of course I get asked this question a lot. They were like night and day.
Mm.
My first experience, my oldest daughter was like smooth sailing. I had an epidural. It was painless. It was just time consuming. My greatest complaint was that I was hungry, quite literally. And then my second experience was the exact opposite. It was as if like the world, universe, God, whoever, somebody was trying to tell me to, oh, you didn't learn your lesson the first time. I got you, sis. I got you. And so in that experience, my youngest daughter, my labor started in the middle of the night. Her sister, all of a year old, like newly a year old, would not stop crying, like for any reason. She wouldn't go to bed. If I put her down and got out the bed and left, then she would like get out the bed and start crying again. I literally laid down and stayed with her for like 20 minutes, and my water broke while I was laying there
Oh,
trying to keep her
wow.
asleep.
Yeah.
She fell asleep, and then I snuck out from underneath her, and that's of course when my contractions like picked up really, really badly. And of course, like the 1 year old comes screaming down the hallway because she like noticed that I left her. And of course, like by the time I got to the hospital, like things had picked up really, really fast. And when I got there, the doctor didn't believe that my water had broken. So he made the nurse check my cervix, and that was very uncomfortable. And then I guess, I don't know why he didn't believe the nurse even after that. So then he checked my cervix again. And all of these things that happened actually ended up causing a delay in me being able to get an epidural.
Wow.
So by the time I got the epidural, and then the anesthesiologist missed the first time, so she had to take it out and do it again. And the whole time that she's trying to insert the epidural, my daughter is crowning at this point.
Oh
Like, and
my
I'm not allowed to.
goodness.
It was so crazy. And because of that, my blood almost burst postpartum because the epidural didn't have enough time to kick in before the birth. So it was kind of like the leftovers of it. And I didn't know that I had to go to the bathroom. So I woke up in the middle of the night screaming in the mother baby unit, saying like my abdomen hurts, and it was a mess.
Wow. So it's
Yes.
like we could plan our, how we want our birth to go, but we
Yeah.
already know our body's gonna do what it do. So
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
and then sometimes I hate when the doctors say, oh, like they don't believe it. Like, okay, I'm the one feeling all of this. I know what I'm talking about. I don't know
Right.
why they always like that. So that
Yeah.
just like messed it up. So you pushed out that baby with no medicine.
No medication. No, no, it didn't have time to go into effect. And then, like, even speaking on what you just now mentioned, that is actually due to a lot of like preconceived notions and biases and things like that. So like there are stereotypes that impact how people get cared for. For example, in healthcare, because before I started the line of work that I'm in now, I worked in the hospital in the ER for 3 years. And what we noticed is that they had this moment where it's like, oh, we're having this this opioid epidemic and people are getting addicted to drugs. And so now they want to prescribe less painkillers to people who are in pain because you have there's a stereotype for Black people to be addicted to drugs. So they'll like automatically give you a lower dose of a painkiller and not believe that you're in pain because you are Black. There are so many different stereotypes that impact how doctors and providers care for us that it's insane.
It is. And matter of fact, that medicine that they actually offer us is something that has killed many of people this year during the pandemic. And when I was like, wow, one of the doctors offered me that, and I'm glad I said no, because that's the addiction that happened. I don't know why they stereotype Black people. I think it's everybody.
It's all history. There's so much stuff. There's a woman I watched on TikTok. I can't remember her name, but she's always talking about all these social injustices, and she talks about that. She talks about like how medicine is just so jacked up, and right now she's doing this thing on gynecological care where it's like we are not too far off from what we started with. So like this morning I get on TikTok and I see her new video is talking about somebody's commented and said, oh, I found out the origin of a chainsaw. It turns out that the chainsaw was invented for women in labor so that they could cut open the pelvis.
Oh my, what?
It is it's insane. It's insane. Like there's so much stuff. You will be surprised what you'll learn. I know I keep getting off topic, but it's
look, send me that link. I would love to see that. Give it to the listeners because that sounds crazy.
Yes.
You mentioned that you work in a hospital. Are you a nurse? I know you say you're a doula, but are you a nurse?
No. So I used to work in the hospital. I don't work in the hospital anymore.
Okay.
I am a certified nursing assistant, and I did patient care technician work in the ER for years. Yeah.
Wow, so you have a lot of experience. So I know that you're about to start midwifery school in January, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's exciting. So what is the difference between a doula and a midwife?
Yeah, so doulas think of a doula as more of a coach. We come in, we offer education, we teach people about their bodies and all of the different developmental stages that you go through when you are trying to conceive, during your entire prenatal development. There's a whole slew of like experiences that you go through as your body is changing. Like, why is my back hurting? Why, like when I walk, why are my hips like uncomfortable? I can't sleep at night. Why am I experiencing heartburn? All of these different things. We basically are there to walk you through what is going on and what you can do to be more comfortable. Mm-hmm. When you give birth, we are there to show you all of these natural techniques that you can use to make your experience a little bit easier and to help things to continue to progress. Okay. A doula is not someone who means you don't get an epidural. You do whatever you want. We kind of are molded to support you based off of what your ideal birth experience looks like. Okay. With a midwife, this is actually your care provider. This is like the doctor, like a holistic doctor. We come in and you actually like check on the baby. You make sure that vital signs are where they're supposed to be. You do labs. You make sure that like the blood work is in line, that there's things like you check for gestational diabetes, check the heart rate. All of those things are outside of the scope of a doula. So doulas do not provide any healthcare at all. That is not allowed.
Right. Because so basically a midwife is above like a nurse, right? Like a registered nurse.
So there's different types of midwives. Okay. Technically, if you get a midwife at a hospital, 9 times out of 10, they are a registered nurse. So that's called a certified or a nurse midwife. Okay. And then they have direct entry midwives, which is what I'll be, where you just go to school to be a midwife, but not a nurse at the same time.
Okay, but you guys both do the same thing.
Yes, they do the same
Okay.
job. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. So congratulations on that. I know you are excited to start that in January. But also Patricia is an entrepreneur and she has some exciting news to share. Patricia, tell the listeners what you are planning.
So right now, I am working on leasing out a space so that we can have the only Black-owned birth center in the state of Maryland. Super
What? Wait,
exciting.
hold on, pause. I'm sorry. Listen, look, I'm in Maryland too, and all I see is Black people. You're talking about the only what?
The first,
The
the
first.
first and
Okay.
only Black-owned, Brown-owned, BIPOC-owned in the state of Maryland. Yes.
What?
Actually, we only have 15 that are owned by Black and Brown people in the country in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, but this will be the first for our state, and if it's successful, I mean, it's gonna be amazing. It'll be a huge accomplishment. I think for me, I'll be really excited about it. But it'll be a huge opportunity for people who are Black and Brown, like people who look like us, because it's representation and it's accessibility. So yeah, I mean, it's a whole different type of care from going to the hospital, and we don't have that here. So
yeah, so I was trying to have my kids at a birthing center. I just wasn't able to due to it being so far. I lived in a Jacksonville, North Carolina. I don't know if anybody ever heard of that, but that is a very secluded area. We're like an hour and a half from the, major highway. So I think the birthing center at that time was, I think 90 minutes away from my house. And there was others doing it. And I'm like, you're crazy. I would never do that because it's like, you never know how your body's just going to push out the baby. So I never had that experience. So, but what is the difference between a birthing center and having your baby at a hospital?
So the biggest difference between care at a birth center and care at a hospital, in my opinion, is really about, I guess, like the way that the providers come at your healthcare. Okay. Doctors are 110% preventative. That means that when you come to them for help, they are doing everything in their power to be able to prevent anything from going wrong. Even if there's nothing there to tell them that something will happen for sure, they are going to do what they can to make sure that, it's my job to guarantee that nothing bad is going to happen to you. And that's kind of insane to me, because you are taking care of me based off of something that may not happen. It puts you in a corner and kind of forces you to have to do things that you really didn't have to do, regardless of what those side effects might look like mentally, emotionally, physically.
True.
When you go to a birth center, the midwives there are more hands off. It puts you kind of in charge of your experience. Okay. So a midwife is only going to be as involved as you want them to be. If you come to them during your prenatal, and this is more like birth center, home birth midwives, because nurse midwives at hospitals, they are aligned with the way that hospital care is. So they are also preventative. When you go to a birth center, or if you have a home birth, that midwife is going to come in and touch when you seem like you need help. They are going to get involved when you seem like you need help, because really your body is designed to do everything it needs to do all by itself, except for those occasions where there is an emergency. And that's when somebody needs to get involved. So it's kind of just letting you birth. However, I mean, they don't stop you from eating. They don't give you medication. No, if you go to a birth center, you get to eat if you want to do that. Now, there are side effects.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, so you go to a birth center, you get to eat until you are pushing. If you want to be pushing and eating at the same time, guess what you're going to get to do? You're going to get to do.
I was missing out. I like eating now.
Yes, that was why I said my first birth experience, my greatest complaint was that I was starving. Oh. But if I would have been to a birth center, or if I would have did a home birth, I would have been able to eat. Yeah. It doesn't mean that there are no consequences to that. So if you are birthing at home or at a birth center and you are having contractions every 5 minutes and you decide you want to have a whole buffet, then once you get close to pushing, there's a chance you're going to get sick. Yeah. that is one of the reasons why we might encourage you as a doula or as your midwife to say, hey, I know you're hungry, please eat lightly or something. Like really, really think about that. But our job is to educate you before that, so be prepared, whatever you eat for it to come back up.
Yeah.
But
no, I can say that. Yeah, because I know like during the contractions, we don't have that much time of like the break period. So I can't really see myself just stuffing my face for those 30 seconds. And then, the contractions, like I think I would be sick just the thought of it. But going hungry too. So it's like you get to play around with what you want to do. So I like that flexibility.
There's a balance too, because imagine, labor could go on for 3 days. If you are one of those poor unfortunate souls, I've been to a 3-day birth. Imagine not eating for 3 days. If you don't have that energy, if you don't have any sugar in your body, you're gonna lose your traction. You're not gonna want to push. You're gonna be ready to sleep, frustrated. A lot of times, if you go for those longer births and those experiences, you kind of just start screaming like, somebody cut me. Somebody give me a cesarean. I had a client who gave up on her vaginal birth. She was really, really like wanting to have a vaginal birth, and it was going on for so long because she didn't have the energy to be able to change positions. She was really uncomfortable, and she ended up just asking for a cesarean because she was hungry.
Wow. So
who wants to go days without eating?
Say no more. Birthing centers where it's at. Because the hospitals, they would not treat you like that. They let these women starve for as long as they're in labor, 24, 36 hours.
So in that situation, actually hospitals, they tend to try to get you like in and out within 24 hours. Hospitals are a business. And not to say that like, to the credit of hospitals, anybody can go there and get help, but a birth center, you have to meet certain requirements. You have to be picture perfect health. You can't have any like pre-existing conditions, like because there is no operating room. There is no like medication to take care of you if some emergency happens. If something goes wrong, you have to be transferred via ambulance. So those are some of the things to consider when you talk about going to a birth center as well. Okay. Hospitals, they got it all right there.
Yeah, that's true. So, I hear what you're saying. It depends on the mother and yeah, that makes sense. So, I see maybe the food inspired you to open up this birth center. What inspired you?
What inspired me to open a birth center? Well, my experience in and of itself inspired me to get involved in maternal health in the first place. The more I learned about the healthcare disparities, like what the statistics show in like birth outcomes for white women versus birth outcomes for everybody else, we start to see that there's huge gaps in care. And the reason why is because white communities have more access. They have more access to healthy food options. They have more access to a variety of different types of care. If you go into Frederick, you might not get the birthing center anymore because it's gone, but I bet you $10 you can find a midwife who can do a home birth. But in Black communities, we don't have that kind of access. So birth outcomes outside of like even access to different kinds of providers. We don't have the same kind of food options. We don't have the same gyms. We don't have the things that keep us healthy. And so as I got involved and I started to notice that Black and brown people are lacking access to care and the nicer, finer things in life, I kind of decided that I guess I was raised in a church that taught me to be the change that you wanted to see. So when I found out we only have 15 birth centers that are Black and brown owned, I was like, oh, guess what? I'm about to be that change.
That's the best advice. I love that. That's very true. I know my husband, he says that a lot. Well, you complaining, well, do something about it, like
exactly.
So, that's amazing.
Complaining doesn't change anything, but when you see a problem and you hear it, maybe that's the world trying to tell you to be the one to change that thing.
I know that's right. So power to you with the courage to open up something like that in the Black community, especially because it is hard, especially when you said even like the healthy food choices. I live in a Black area and it's real nice here. It's just when it comes to like the healthy, like for example, giant grocery store. The giant grocery store, I have two. The two giant grocery stores next to my house is not as nice as the one in Annapolis, Maryland.
Yes.
It's a big difference. And I'm like, what am I?
Exactly.
So I go all the way over there just to get what I want. It's so
Mm-hmm.
sad, So
Yeah.
I agree to that. So does insurance cover the birthing center?
It depends on who your provider is. Different insurance companies might cover different things. You definitely, like I said, you definitely have to be eligible for birth center care. So some insurance MCOs and like all of them are now starting to get on board because like we in the birthing world are now saying like maternal health is trending right now. So, there's all these changes that are happening. A lot of times people have to pay out of pocket, but there are birth centers that are starting to get in network. Like I know Premier Birth Center out in Chantilly and Winchester. They have 2 centers. I think they're covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield. Midwives are covered. So, but I think you have to be a nurse midwife right now.
Okay.
Doulas, exciting news, January, Medicaid is going to start covering doula support. So we are,
Wow.
we are starting to like expand out.
Okay.
But yeah, so definitely call your insurance company, call your provider, whomever, and see if they have midwives that are covered, see if they cover birth center care, because if they can, you got access to some gold in your back pocket. So.
Facts, girl. So if it doesn't cover, do you know like the average amount it will cost for just a mom to have her prenatal care and then give birth at a birthing center? Like, is it like $3,000 or?
It depends on where you go. A lot of people who are getting behind birth centers that are Black and brown recognize that the need is different in Black communities and brown communities. It is a business that is kind of done out of the kindness of one's heart because it's more work and it comes with a lot of disadvantages. So with that being said, a lot of Black and brown owners tend to like undercharge. They tend to try to meet you where you are. So it really, really varies like greatly.
Okay.
Especially for paying out of pocket. Like we want to be able to, we're doing it because we want to help the community.
Yeah.
So I think that you might pay like $5,000 to $6,000 if you're paying out of pocket. Okay. I'm not sure how much the insurance companies cover. So, yeah. That's the thing that I have yet to delve into just yet, but it's coming.
When you start doing your plan, that's something you definitely will research, only because there are going to be women who just will be paying out of pocket. Like, for example, when I tried to go to a birthing center where I used to live, they said that TRICARE only covered a certain amount. So I think my bill would have been like $2,700. And that wasn't really bad. It's just that at that time, I didn't want to put that in my budget. So I just decided not to do it. And then including it was being, it was too far. So yeah, it's I honestly think it's not that bad, because if you have your child at a hospital, it's going to be far more expensive, especially if they're trying to force epidurals and all these things on you.
All those medications, every single pad, every blanket that you put your body with, and pillow that you lay your head on, they are charging for that.
These are the pillow they lay your head on. That's funny.
All of that. Even like the square of toilet paper, they're like, we need our money back. I got the receipt. Please pay me back for all of that stuff.
Look, they're charging for Wi-Fi too, I heard.
Yes, they are. By the day.
By the day. I was like, damn, so I can't watch TV for free. Yeah. So Patricia, so tell everybody where they can find you on social media or your website, so people can find you.
Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook at Birth Supporters United. You can find us on Instagram at Birth Supporters United. We on Twitter at @WeSupport_U. And I guess we're on LinkedIn as well at Birth Supporters United.
Oh, good. That's what's up.
Yeah, now to be consistent.
Yeah, with the LinkedIn, you probably would get some midwives to maybe want to apply at your facility and work.
That's what I'm hoping for. I would love to get that kind of involvement. If you're a midwife, CPM, CNM, whatever. If you want to get involved, please reach out to me. Please, hit my DMs.
Yes, I'm so excited. This is awesome news. So be sure to download Diverse Mama Podcast on wherever you listen, such as Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. Join our FB page, Diverse Mama Podcast Support Group, which is a place for us to vent about mommy issues, relationship problems, or anything regarding being a woman. It is a safe space for us to seek advice from others who experience what we may be going through. Don't forget to share to help the community. And thanks for listening, Diverse Mamas. Bye.
Bye.